Good morning again. My name is Simone Falls. I am again one of the co-chairs of the leadership board and here to present with my partner Mo the state of the continuum of care here in Alameda County. I think I messed it up. It's not moving anymore. Okay, there we go. All right, so this morning we will go over updates in the CoC governance. We will give a year one update to the strategic plan and then have a little time for questions and answers. So a little history for those who have been around the last few years or familiar with some of the challenges we've had with the CoC governance and clarity of roles. So the CoC governance is simply a document that clearly states roles, different roles and the structure of the CoC. So in the past, there have been some challenges with different committees and knowing who makes the final decision, who reports back to who, and the CoC governance, the updates that have been made over the last couple of years clarify those roles and structure. So the last community meeting was in February 2022. So it's been a while. Glad to have everyone here again. There was a robust process to improve, to first assess the current governance at that time and then improve the governance that got us to where we are today. There was a transition committee developed. There was a drafting and approving of the new governance charter. The governance charter does have to be approved by the full CoC committee, which CoC community membership, thank you, which is all of you and more beyond who are not able to make it here today. Once the governance charter was approved, which did happen in 2022, the new committee structure was developed and seating on those committees began. In addition to the governance charter, there are policies and procedures, which I believe you all have a packet on your desk or table. And the policies and procedures go further in depth into the responsibilities of each committee, the policies around how decisions are made. It's just a more in-depth rule versus the governance charter is a broader umbrella of the structure. And also there are several MOUs that are being developed between different entities to make sure we are all on the same page and are working seamlessly and collaboratively together. From that governance charter change that occurred recently in 2022, you can see this spiral of committees. There are several different committees, and I think this speaks to the need for all hands in, for a high level of collaboration. The leadership board is the backbone of the CoC. They are the committee that make the final decisions. They will provide information to other committees and direction to other committees, and then other committees bring proposals up to the leadership board. The leadership board can also take outside proposals. If you are not part of the committee, you can bring ideas and thoughts to the leadership board, and there will be momentum to either move that forward in that board or transition it to other committees to work through the proposals. I'm gonna look at the computer because I have glasses on, but I still can't see. So we have several committees that have been developed. We have the youth committee, which this is focused on transitional age youth homelessness. And I am going to just give a little shout out because I did just have a conversation with a couple of members. It has been a long road to recognize youth homelessness. Youth homelessness is real. And with the help of the Youth Action Board and their leaders right here in the front table, cheers. The Youth Action Board is no longer just an idea or concept. It is a real body doing real powerful work in the community. All right. The Outreach, Access, and Coordination Committee was formerly the Systems Coordination Committee. We'll get a little, in a future slide, we'll get a little deeper into what the committees oversee, but there's several committees, as you see here: the Housing Capacity, Housing Stability and Homelessness Prevention, System Impact Committee, HMIS Committee. I also wanna just say the HMIS Committee is the Homeless Management Information Systems Committee, so that is where the data is collected for homeless services. All of the committees are very important. This committee is vital to ensuring that our data systems are operating properly and that we are able to make informed decisions based on what information we have in HMIS. There's also the CoC Standards Compliance and Funding Committee. And then you'll see that there are a couple of ad hoc committees, the Nominations and NOFO Committee. These committees look at different proposals that need to be voted on. So the NOFO Committee is a non-conflicted committee that provides oversight to the HUD funding processes. So the CoC funding that we get every year, they provide oversight to those processes and do the voting and review of applications. The Nominations Committee nominates people to join the different committees and brings those nominations to the leadership board or the prospective committees for vote. And then on the outside, you see the advisory boards. So the Youth Action Board, the Champions Council, and the Founders Council are advisory boards to the whole system. And the whole system is wrapped tightly around with the Racial Equity Committee, ensuring that everything we do is focused, has a racial equity focus to it. Right. So I spoke a little bit about the governance charter revision process. I still can't see that. In 2022, the current charter was adopted by the general meeting of our CoC. Again, that's what we are doing here today. In February 16th of 2022, the transition committee formed to implement that new charter. And in December 7th, 2022, the roles and responsibilities work group was formed to define and organize executing entities. And that committee continues to meet today. You'll see a list of who is on that committee shortly. So members leading the update process, you can see the list of members here. It doesn't say where they're from, but I can tell you that the people that were part of these processes come from all walks of life, all different organizations. We have people from government entities. We have field experts that have lived experience. We have people from nonprofits and from the public sector, private sector. So it's an array of different individuals that came together to improve the CoC processes. The structure of the charters, there is the governance charter, which we just discussed, the policy and procedures manual that is on your desk table, and the CoC entity memorandum of understanding, which is something that is newer to the CoC, but part of these processes, we identified gaps in our policies and procedures, and through that identification, we are putting more things onto paper, making sure that things are clearly written out and that we're all on the same page. And you can see by the three different buckets we have here, there are different voting powers. So the CoC membership must vote on the governance charter. The leadership board is empowered to vote on most policies and procedures, on most changes to the systems or improvements to the systems. So it is important that you are all involved in the process and making sure that the right people are on the different committees and that we are well represented on the committees. There are 5 entities designated as part of the charter, and the different committees are focused on different areas. So the leadership board is the backbone. They're focused on making sure that everything is running smoothly, making sure that we are following the policies of HUD and making sure that we are making decisions and moving things forward. So making sure we're doing the point in time count, making sure that someone's designated to do the NOFO process, everything that we have to do as far as the HUD COC regulations, the leadership board needs to stay on top of that in partnership with our lovely home-based team. The HMIS administrator has oversight from our HMIS committee, the coordinated entry system and the management entity, one and the same, and they have oversight by the Outreach Access and Coordination Committee. And when I say there's oversight, these committees do the work for the COC. So if there need to be a review of the coordinated entry system or improvements to the coordinated entry system, that happens within the Outreach and Access and Coordination Committee. Same for the HMIS committee. If there need to be improvements to the HMIS system, that work happens in the HMIS committee. The collaborative applicant has oversight from the COC Standards Compliance and Funding Committee, and the policy and planning entity have oversight from the System Impact Committee. Right, and the purpose of the policies and procedures, I feel like I've already stated, but it's to ensure that we're all on the same page, to ensure that we have procedures that are going to move us towards our goal and that we are following those procedures as we have collectively decided to move forward. So it's important that we continue to evaluate the processes that we have put in place, make sure they're working for us, and if they're not, to come together and continue to improve so that we can end homelessness here in Alameda County. Passing it to you. I'll pass it to Mo. Thank you all.
Thank you, Simone. All right. This is a lot of details here, but we do want to make sure everybody is informed. We are actually, one of the things that we'll do in the next phase here is to adopt the policies and procedures. As you've seen, there's been a lot of us going over this for months and months and months, but the contents in general are the committee and subcommittees and work group procedures and how they proceed on each one of their activities. We have delegated some of the authority of the leadership board to these various committees. So, the extent of that delegation is in the manual. We have anti-discrimination and conflict of interest statements that our members sign and agree to. We have election procedures in their meeting process, practices, requirements for evaluation of designated entities. We evaluate the designated entities, which for the most part it's the county, it's OHCC is the designated entity for most of the activities you just saw on the previous slides. So we can also reassign these if it's not working or if we want to reorganize. But we are, working our way into this new system, and we think that this should work well for the coming years. So each one of the designated entities, as we have shown before, signs an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding. This will establish what the standards and expectations are between the leadership board and the designated entity, which, as I said, in most cases is the county. It's the Office of Homeless Care and Coordination. So this slide here shows that what the roles are. So the backbone entity, which is home base, does our staffing support. You've met some of our able staff right here, and they'll be around for all of this meeting. The collaborative applicant is the official organization that submits our application for HUD funding, and also has to sign off on a lot of other activities, and that is OHCC, Office of Homeless Care and Coordination of the Alameda County. The coordinated entry management is the system that many of you are familiar with, where we have intake and we assign the rank of people for eligibility for housing, and that is they oversee the day-to-day activities of that system. HMIS, Homeless Management Information Systems, is a part of the requirement for our HUD grant, and it also provides us and the county and all of you who are working in this the information you need to have in order to do your jobs. And finally, the policy and planning entity. This is a new one, but it's sort of a catch-all that has to do with actually changing and looking at plans, seeing whether things are working or not working. We do need to have a generative part of our organization that can think about better and new ways of doing things. So that leading that is also OHCC. However, we have not actually named that yet, and it is not an active entity. So a lot of you today are newly appointed on committees, and the nominations committee, which you can see the members here, have been working diligently over the last, I'd say, 4 months to bring on people. We had a tremendous response for fulfilling our committees, and I'd like to thank all of you who did answer the call. But you can see the names of people. We have people with lived experience, people from the county, myself, and others who have been working on each one of the standing committees to try to make sure that the over 150 members of our organization have found the right place and a home to work on. So we have some new committees here: the Housing Capacity Committee, Housing Stabilization, and Youth Committee were all added. The other ones were sort of renamed and brought over from our previous structure. Right now, as I think you've heard here before, our committees are made up of a third of the seats are people with lived experience, and approximately 40% are people who identify as BIPOC. We have representatives from cities and unincorporated areas, and we also have a seat on each one of these committees for OHCC or HCD, depending on what the emphasis is. So we have got a lot of new people here. As you can see, there's at least 50 people who have not been on any of these committees before, but many of you bring experience to this. So I would like to actually now ask if you are either newly appointed or have been on a committee for quite a while to stand up so that we can actually see who is with us today, and give them a round of applause and thank them very much for the service that they'll be providing to us. So if you could. All right. Looks like almost everybody. So thank you very much, and this will be a great way to kick off our new format.